Namaste, Namaskar. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the second day of May 2025. The following is the Vedic Astrology reading for Pope Francis. This is based on the 17th of December 1936 at 9 p.m. in Buenos Aires, Argentina. This birth time came from a birth certificate, birth record in hand by the Lois Rodden organization. Now I am using the systems approach to Vedic astrology paradigm for reading horoscopes. If we looked east on the horizon at the time of birth, the third sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising at 16 degrees 49 minutes of Gemini. So this is known as Matun Lagna, Gemini. This is an air sign ruled by Bud, by Mercury. We say there are only three air signs: Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Of these three, only Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Libra is ruled by Venus. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So we say that Geminis are the messengers. These are good for writing, language, literature, business, brokering, communications, computers, technology, and intellectual property. Some rather other world-famous Gemini rising signs would include Albert Einstein and Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft. Now we see that in the first house, in the third sign Gemini, is Ketu, K-E-T-U. This is the southern node of the moon in the first house. This is a person's name, fame, health, appearance, personality, reputation. Well, Ketu is known as Moksha Karaka. So, in other words, it represents spirituality. Ketu is considered the sannyasi, a person who's very reclusive and on a spiritual path, and not so much material oriented as we see throughout his life. It's important when we have Ketu in the first house that the person takes time every year for a retreat to recharge the spiritual batteries. Ketu persons are not so concerned about their appearance. They love going deeply into spiritual practices and spiritual experiences. The second house of the fourth sign Cancer or Kark. Third house, fifth sign Leo or Simha. Fourth house, sixth sign Virgo or Kanya. Mangal in Kanya. This is Mars at 26 degrees in the fourth house. This is childhood. It's parents, it's property, it's family life. He did have younger brothers. Mars' younger brothers is in the house of home life. Mars rules the 11th house of income and friendships, and it's in the fourth house. So this is Mars ruling property in the house of property and ruling the house of gains. He actually was worth a lot of money at the time of over his life, but at the time of his death. And he was very much associated with men who were like brothers in his home life. Fifth house, the seventh sign, Libra or Tula. The sixth house, the eighth sign, Scorpio, Vrishik. The seventh house, the ninth sign, Sagittarius or Danu. Notice that the seventh house is directly opposite the first house. So this is the person, this is others, this is relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, marriage, and comforts living abroad or away from one's birthplace. So a very complex seventh house of relationships. Rahu, R-A-H-U, the northern node of the moon, gives relationships away from one's birthplace. Rahu is a foreign element, foreign culture, foreign religions. This is Surya, Guru, and Bud in Danu. Sun at 2 degrees, Jupiter at 10 degrees, Mercury at 18 degrees. Sun is Atma Karaka. It represents a person's soul. It's in the 9th sign Sagittarius, ruled by Guru. He has the soul of a guru. And Jupiter is religion and education. He had plenty of both. This is very powerful. 7th house. When Sun is in Sagittarius, the person strives for knowledge. Sagittarius is symbolized as the centaur, the archer. So the archer is the centaur. Lower half is the animal, the horse. Upper half, the independent adult, shooting arrows into the sky. So Sagittarius rising sign persons, or Sagittarius with Sun in Sagittarius, these people are here for evolution. And they're shooting for divinity. And whenever they have a target, they hit the mark. Guru, Jupiter, Guru in Danu is absolutely sterling, absolutely a blessing. This gives divine knowledge, wisdom, morality, education. And because the 7th house is a Kendra, and Jupiter's in his own Multrikone sign of Sagittarius, it confers on the native a Panch Mahapurush Yoga, one of the 5 great yogas. This is called Hamsh Yoga. It gives a person tremendous discrimination. And they can flow through life like the swan across the lake, pulling milk out of the water. Brings tremendous divine grace. It brings education and relationships with people who are in religion, Jupiter's religion, and people who are teachers, educators, professors. And Mercury says that he is always attracted to people who have good intellect, good communication skills. Mercury rules the 4th house of property and home life, and it's in the 7th house of relationships. So there can be property and relationships connected with foreign lands, living abroad. 8th house, 10 sign Capricorn Makar, Chandra and Shukra in Makar, Moon at 19 degrees, Venus at 14 degrees. Moon rules the 2nd house of wealth and status and speech, and it's in the 8th house. The positive side of the 8th house is research, 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 languages. So first off, he was a research scholar, and he spoke many or several different languages. Moon is the heart value, emotional state. So in his heart, he wanted to go deeply into knowledge. This also, 8th house, is connected with occult knowledge, mystical sciences, and even the Vedic sciences, such as Ayurveda, Stapachya Gandharva Veda, Jyotisha. And Shukra Venus rules the 5th house of mind, and it's in the 8th house of research and ancient knowledge. In the 9th house, we have the 11th sign, Aquarius, a Kumbh, Shani in Kumbh, Saturn in his own sign of Aquarius. This is a blessing, absolute blessing, because the 9th house is the house of Dharma. And dharma is one's duty, it's religion, it's morality, it's responsibility, it's righteousness. When a person is in their dharma, and it's better to be in your own dharma than in the dharma of somebody else, they get support for both worldly prosperity and, more importantly, for spiritual freedom. So Pope Francis had the dharma of helping the masses. Saturn is the masses. It's the elderly. It's the poor and the needy. It's immigrants. That was his dharma, being of service to others. Saturn teaches patience, perseverance, and humility, and he had those in abundance. Ninth house is also known as Bhagya, which means divine grace, good luck, and good fortune. And it's connected with gurus and father figures. The 10th house, 12th sign, Pisces or Mina. 11th house, the first sign, Aries or Mish. So Mars rules income and friendships in the house of property, happiness, and home life. And it rules younger brothers. He had 2 younger brothers. 12th house, second sign, Taurus or Vrishab. Now, when we overlay the system's approach to Vedic astrology paradigm, we say that Gemini is the only rising sign of the 12 rising signs from Aries around through to Pisces. Only Gemini has 7 favorable planets, what we call functional benefic planets that will never cause harm. Other rising signs may have 6 favorable planets. Others may have 5 favorable planets. And 3 have 4 favorable planets. So only Gemini has 7 favorable planets, which is very helpful. But even still, we have to always analyze how the planets are operating in a horoscope. Favorable planet can be weak or afflicted or debilitated or badly placed. And an unfavorable planet that causes adverse effects can be benign, not causing much trouble. However, those planets that cause adverse effects will cause trouble from time to time in the transit chart or in the dashas, the timing of event. So we have to now see, are these planets strong? Are they well placed? Are they weak or have some problems? So we always start with Sun. It's the king of the planetary cabinet. Sun rules Gemini's 3rd house of independent entrepreneurial ventures, and it's in the house of relationships, partnerships, and foreign lands. Sun also rules health for Gemini. It's the most important planet for Geminis for their health. Notice that Sun at 3 degrees, you can round that off to 3, is only a couple of degrees from Rahu, the northern node of the moon, and under the 7th aspect of Ketu, the southern node of the moon. Ketu's influence on the Sun, which is Atma Karaka, gives him profoundly spiritual soul. Rahu's influence on the Sun can give him a lot of ambition, make him very persuasive, and a strong desire for independence and doing things his own way, taking his own decisions. But this causes trouble for the stomach, digestion, heart, blood, bones, and immune system. And he ultimately died from heart failure. So we would have recommended many years ago that he wear a ruby gemstone to strengthen the Sun, and that he pacify Rahu and Ketu with Bhuta Yaga and Deva Yaga, the charities, and the Vedic chants. So he covered that because he did charities for everyone all the time. And the tradition of Latin is fine. It's very similar to the Vedic chants, in my opinion. That knowledge. It's very esoteric. But I think if he was not on a spiritual path, then this would not have been good. He may have had a heart attack when he was in his 40s or 50s or 60s. 3 of his 4 younger siblings all passed away at early ages. One was 59, 2 were 67. The reason for his longevity, and I think almost being 90 is fine, maybe because Shani, Saturn, is in Aquarius, and Shani is Ayush Karaka. It represents spirituality. It gives long, it represents, I misspoke, it represents longevity of life. Ayush Karaka, Ayush, longevity. So this can give long life. So there are 2 other planets I would have recommended strengthening measures, and that's Moon and Venus, Chandra and Shukra, in the 8th house. 8th house is a Dustan Bhava. In every horoscope, there are 12 houses from the 1st house around to the 12th house. 9 houses are favorable. 3 houses in every horoscope are unfavorable. The 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. These are Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. Planets going into the 6th, 8th, and 12th become weak. So he has a weak moon and a weak Venus. Planets ruling the 6th, 8th, and 12th can cause adverse effects. They become functional malefic planets, but only if that house contains a Mool Trikona sign. M-O-O-L-T-R-I-K-O-N-A. Mool Trikona. All planets have dignities. Sun is exalted in Aries. Sun is debilitated in Libra. And Sun's Mool Trikona sign is Leo. So we have to judge whether a planet is exalted or debilitated or in its Mool Trikona sign or in some neutral position. But in my opinion, Mool Trikona sign takes precedence. I believe there's a passage in the Brihat Parashara, Hora Shastra, Sage Parashara. Hora is our Shastra's knowledge, father of astrology, where he says that grahas rule 2 bhavas. Planets rule 2 houses. Mool Trikona sign takes precedence. So Professor V.K. Chowdhury figured out what that meant. I think most astrologers miss that. We always want to see where the Mool Trikona signs fall. If they fall in a Dustan Bhava, then for that ascendant, for that rising sign, they become a functional malefic planet. Now the Mool Trikona signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. Aries for Mars, Cancer for the Moon, Leo for the Sun, Virgo for the Mercury, Libra for the Venus, Sagittarius for the Jupiter, and Aquarius for Saturn. So from now on, when you look at a chart, look to see if a Mool Trikona sign falls in the 6th, 8th, or 12th. So Gemini, that's why they have 7 favorable planets, because there's no Mool Trikona sign in the 6th, 8th, or 12th. In my experience is that people are working things out this lifetime where the Mool Trikona signs fall. So all Geminis are working out income and friendships, wealth, status, speech, family life, independence, self-expression, self-initiatives, happiness, home life, property, education, investments, children, spiritual pursuits, relationships, and gurus, religion, spiritual journeys. So other rising signs will have either 1, 2, or 3 Multricone signs in a Dustan Bhava, and that renders those planets functional malefic. So now, what happens if Moon ruling the second house has gone into the 8th house? Yes, it connects the second house of wealth and status and speech with the 8th house of research, languages, and mystical sciences. So we could say that maybe Catholicism is an occult knowledge. But this makes Moon weak, and Moon rules continuation of family life. So in the 8th house, this can cause discontinuation of family life. He had no wife, no children, and he lost 3 younger siblings. Venus rules the 5th house of mind and education. It's gone into the 8th house. Research, languages, so he spoke several languages, and occult knowledge or mystical sciences. But Venus is also wife in a man's chart, and it rules the house of children. So weakness. So no wife, no children. It's fine that happened because he took a vow of celibacy. That's fine. But in my opinion, it would have been good for him to wear a ruby, a pearl, and a diamond to strengthen those 3 planets. We strengthen the favorable planets that are weak, afflicted, debilitated, or badly placed. I do believe that Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn are carrying his chart. Jupiter, education, knowledge, divine grace, religion. Mercury, writing, language, communications. And Saturn, his Dharma, in leading the masses. They are all in good degrees. The best degrees are 5 to 24. So Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn are absolutely sterling. They're strong. They're well placed in favorable houses. We also want to consider the rising sign degree. This is not an arbitrary number. 0 to 30 is possible in every house. This number changes every 4 minutes of the day. It's very specific to a person's exact time of birth. Now, this may have been rounded off. I mean, maybe it's maybe it was 8:59 p.m. Maybe it was 9:01 p.m. or 9:02 p.m. Anything. That's fine, but that's okay because that won't change this number. Now, but just so you know, if you're studying, if this number is around 0 or 1 degree, or around 28 or 29 or 30 degrees, we have to take a look because it'll either be, it's possible the person was born a couple of minutes earlier would be the previous rising sign, or a couple of minutes later would be the next rising sign. But here we have about an hour on either side, so no problem with the time. But this number becomes most effective point of every house. Any planet close to this number will have an impact in the house it occupies and in the houses it aspects. All planets cast an aspect opposite where they sit. Some planets have additional aspects. Saturn throws an aspect 3, 7, and 10 houses away. Mars 4, 7, and 8 houses away. Rahu, Jupiter, and Ketu will throw an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. Mercury, Moon, and Venus, and Sun only cast an aspect opposite where they sit. Some influence. This rising sign is known as most effective point, this degree. And we have a 5-degree orb, so it actually starts at 11 and it goes up to 21 degrees. The reason I point this out is look at Mercury. Mercury's at 18 degrees, so it is within a 2-degree orb of the most effective point. So this brings Mercury's influence into the first house of self. This is why he's a great orator, a great speaker, writer. He wrote books. He wrote all kinds of knowledge. And he was a messenger. And K2 is spiritual. So he's a spiritual messenger. So these are the main points on this chart. Let's go to the second video, and we'll talk about the timing of events and some of the life situations here.